Yeah, hello. My name's Roy Ellsberry. I've been retired for 25 years. I want to share my redirect story about living life abundantly.
Welcome to the Redirect Podcast. We appreciate you joining us and listening to our conversation about finding your purpose in retirement.
I'm Adam Kalimba. I am here with Curt Brewer and Dale Tesman. Once again, guys, here we are with another great conversation, another great guest. Looking forward to today. How are you guys?
So excited to be here and to be with Roy, who I've known for a long time, and just can't wait to share Roy with our entire audience. So.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Roy is a very inspirational man for me. I met him 4 years ago, and God told me that I needed to be by his side. And he's given me a lot of great words of wisdom. And what I want to learn from him now is I've been out of the workplace for a little bit over a year, and he's been doing it for 25 years. And I want to know how. This first year's been great, but 25 years of being retired, what does that look like? That's, for some people, a career.
Yeah. What I think is really cool, Roy, and you don't know this, but when we were planning for the show itself and building out possible episodes and possible guests, and we came to this idea of just getting super cool, super interesting people that have such a great story to tell. The first name that popped into all of our minds of people that we have to share with the world, Roy Ellsberry. So we're honored to have you here. Let me tell everybody a little bit about you. Roy's lived a really interesting life. He was a PK, pastor's kid. He's a Navy veteran. He was a professional bowler. Roy began his relationship with the Lord at the age of 10 and made a full surrender commitment at the age of 50, a key turning point in Roy's life. He's been married for 26 years. He's a father, a stepfather. And after working in the auto industry for most of his career, Roy became an owner-operator truck driver. Roy officially retired at the age of 55 and has been retired for 25 years now. I mean, if there's somebody who's got some good stories to tell on how to do it, how not to do it.
Finding purpose.
Yeah. It's probably rebooted that thing a few times. Since retiring, Roy's been busy dedicating himself to serving his Lord and King, Jesus. He's helped launch a church. He's worked in prison ministry, street prayer ministry, and participates in Senior Olympics. Roy, thank you for joining Redirect today. Glad you're here. Can't wait to talk more to you about all of this.
It's great to be here, and I'm honored to be here. This introduction, what you said about me, is totally embarrassing to me. I have a big head. I don't know what to think. I'm trying to be humble about all of this, and it's great to be here. Thanks for
release a lot of that stuff out of your head for us, will you, Roy? You'll feel a lot better at the end of this.
That's right. I didn't even know I was that cool.
I am somebody.
I've got to tell you, I met Roy, Roy is probably 20 years ago or so, and my gosh, just took to you and we connected. I don't think I've ever met somebody that I connected so quickly with as a human, and just somebody asked great questions and great conversations, and something was formed immediately, and that bond is really special, and I've got to think that so many other people get to share the same experience.
Dale, it's great. I had the same experience, I think, with you, and to me right now, I mean, that's what life's all about, is connecting with people, and it was pretty interesting, these what I call divine appointments. So it's great to know you, and without question.
Awesome. So this is a podcast about finding your purpose in retirement. And in addition to just enjoying hanging out with you, Roy, we're really interested in your insights and how you can help us help people who are not just interested in this particular topic, but, interested in hearing your story, specifically about how the last few moments leading into retirement, and then how you've navigated all of that. We're going to spend a couple of minutes getting to know you a little bit about your history, and then I want to unpack your retirement journey. First, what did you enjoy about your career?
Well, initially in the car business industry and sales, I enjoyed the I hate to call it the hunt,
Oh no,
That's a good word.
Dale and I know that really.
We
well.
know. We're hunters. Yes.
Yeah.
We get that.
That's a great
a
word.
customer would come in to the dealership. I was a salesman, and it was just exciting, to see if I could accomplish something. Obviously, selling a car. In the beginning, it was very, very exciting because I sold sports cars, and so I sold fun. And the people that came in were happy and excited, and it was just a really great adventure. I really loved it. I loved it a lot, and so it was very, very lucrative. When I got into the car business initially, someone talked me into it, and I had never done anything like that before in sales, and that I found out that was what my God-given gift was. And it's interesting because the first month that I was in the dealership, I set a record, and the general manager took a picture of it. And the rest was history. I became very, very successful as a result.
What was the coolest car you ever sold? Like what year, what model, what was the coolest car?
I can't tell you the year, but probably the coolest car might have been probably a Lotus, because the sports cars I sold were all foreign sports cars, and I liked Lotus a lot. That was probably the most exciting.
What were some of the others?
Porsche.
You keep talking about the sports cars, and I want to know what sports cars.
I feel like I stole your question. Sorry about that.
Well, we sold Triumph, we sold MG, and Austin Healey, and the Porsche was pretty exciting. I got to drive a Porsche. That was probably more exciting. So
you dealt with a lot of midlife crisis individuals?
Nice. Way to bring it back to the podcast, man. So good.
That's right. Remember, go back to the hunt. These were pieces of meat that were walking into the dealership. Okay, they were all at a midlife crisis.
And Roy says, "If I got a car for you, buddy, you want to be James Bond? Come on over here."
Roy, when did you start considering retirement?
Well, I can't say I ever really considered retirement. I was making a lot of money, doing very, very well. I was on top of the world. I felt that way. And I think the only thing I thought about in making all this money was, well, someday this job will be over with. I'll quit doing what I'm doing, and I'll live on a golf course and play golf every day. I mean, that was just my thought early on in my career.
But eventually you had to cross the line somewhere. So you transitioned. Let's assist everybody with the timeline a little bit. You transitioned from the auto industry into owner-operator of your own truck. How did that transition happen from one career to the other?
Well, my career went from sales to management to top management, which was a general manager in a store. But for whatever reason, my career started to go downhill, and I didn't quite get that, didn't quite understand that, but it happened. I was actually towards the end of my career, commuting from Cincinnati to Lexington. I was a new car manager at a Pontiac Acura store. On the way there, for whatever reason, I had a pastor from Atlanta on the radio. I don't know why I did that, because I wasn't following Christ, and I was king and Lord of my life, and money was my God and my idol. I thought would take care of everything. But whatever reason, again, I had this pastor on the radio, and he said, if you're having problems in your life, just write them down on a piece of paper and turn them over to the Lord. And I thought, well, why am I commuting for work to Lexington? I thought it'd be my last great job, and paid a lot of money, but I was having problems, and I decided at that moment I couldn't write down on a piece of paper I'm driving the car. But metaphorically, I said, Lord, I accepted you as my Savior when I was like 10 or 11 years old, and it was meaningful, but the cares and the concerns of this world took over in my life, and I knew that, and I said, what I'm going to do, Lord, is make you king, and Lord, I'm tired of being on my own throne and being my own king, and so metaphorically, what I'm going to do, I'm going to slide over here into the passenger seat. I'm going to give you the steering wheel of my life, and I want you to run it from here on after that. And
wow.
As a result of that, not too many months later, my wife left me for another man. Couldn't blame her. I wasn't a very good husband. I wasn't physically abusive, but I really didn't know how to take care of her sensitivities as a woman, as a wife, and so she left me for someone else, and wouldn't you know, about the same time I lost that job in Lexington. So fast forward, my career was beginning to dissolve and be over with. And I thought, well, Roy, what are you going to do? I had responsibilities, financial responsibilities, and I was starting over, you might say. I just thought, I didn't have a college degree, I had a high school diploma. My whole career was in the car business. So I just asked God a simple question, Lord, what can I do? And it's sort of like the response was, well, Roy, you like to drive. So I ended up within a year buying a truck, going over the road, and I went from white collar to blue collar. And
when you say a truck, you're not talking a pickup.
No, I had a Freightliner, and
okay.
It was a big truck. I had a double sleeper in the back, and
Now, were you certified before you purchased this truck?
I was.
Okay, all right. I just thought you maybe walked up and I'll take that
He
one.
still doesn't have his license. He was driving illegally the whole time.
One of the few things that he actually pre-planned for.
Yeah, I did.
Go ahead.
No, I met actually a couple guys between Dayton and Cincinnati, and they were recruiters for this company, and they showed me like a van. I could buy a van, or I could buy this truck that I ended up purchasing, or a semi, and that related how much income I could make. So I decided to buy the one in the middle, and it was a big truck. It was a Freightliner, but I had a box instead of a trailer. It made all the difference in the world, quite frankly. And I didn't realize that I was about to embark on the greatest, really, adventure of my life as far as working was concerned. And I went from white collar to blue collar. I had asked people out on the road, what do you wear when you're in this truck? I mean, what do you do? I had no idea. I didn't wear jeans. I mean, I wore a tie and coat. And,
trucker cap.
Is it okay if I wear a button-up still?
Right.
Take my Brooks Brothers shoes off. Yeah.
With my plaid overshirt.
Yeah, and it wasn't an easy transition in the sense that my first trip out of Cincinnati, well, it was going to be somewhat of a disaster, and I'd never done this before. I picked up something from downtown that needed to be frozen, and my truck wasn't that kind of a truck.
Wasn't refrigerated.
It wasn't refrigerated, and I had to drive this to Cleveland, and so I called my dispatcher, and I says, hey, they have something in here. It's an ice cream ingredient. I asked the guy there, I told him I don't have a refrigerated truck, so what should I do? He says, Roy, I just drive as fast as I can.
I was just going to say, you changed lanes, didn't you? You were the guy on that outside lane I see going up 71 to Cleveland, going by about 80 miles an hour.
Well, I
Tell stories about that run.
It's funny.
Made movies about that.
Well, anyway, I picked it up, and I got clearance to go to Cleveland, and I didn't know how to even secure freight. I had to have someone show me how to do that. And so I'm leaving Cincinnati, and I know Cincinnati. That's where I grew up and lived all my life. But an awful rain came, and I was having a hard time getting out and having to find the truck route. And immediately I got a reply from the company that I was running late, so I tried to speed up. Anyway, I made it to Cleveland okay, and I got the ingredients there. And
Just how fast, or how long did it take you to get up there? I want to know this.
I actually, truthfully, I really drove the speed limit.
Yeah, right.
It's
50
That's not the way we're going to tell that story.
That's right.
That's going to get edited out.
Right.
Yeah.
We're going to make you the hero of that story and all of the lore that made that ice cream run plausible. All right, so you transitioned from the auto industry into being your own owner-operator. That went for a while because in that time you met your wife of now 26 years, and that was the catalyst that got you into a spot where you could retire from punching the clock, so to speak, right?
That's correct, yeah. I initially like to go back to the truck in this sense. When I say that it was the greatest working adventure of my life, it was. One fall day, I was driving through West Virginia, and in this truck, you sit really high. You can see everything, and you have large mirrors on the outside, and it was so great. I loved it so much, the colors, and I was just praising God. And I said to God, I said, Lord, if there are trucks in heaven and deliveries, and I could do this in heaven, then I want to do this for the rest of my life. I want to sign up like right now. And I don't want to miss that spot. That just means that I would do this for eternity.
He's calling dibs. He's calling dibs with God, like,
right.
hey, if you got a spot open, I'm
Hold one for me, buddy, will you?
And further, I just sat with a good friend the other day, and I told him this story. And I said, when I get up there, I want to have this this nice Freightliner. And he says, no, Roy, you won't have a Freightliner. You'll have one it'll be Peterbilt.
Wow. Nice. Waiting for you at the pearly gates. That's right. Shining
Here are the
Peterbilt.
keys, baby.
That's right.
That's funny.
Anyway, back to my wife, you're asking that question. Well, I have to say, God put my wife, Christina, and I together through unusual circumstances. Her husband, who was a friend of mine for 1 year, would meet him weekly. He had cancer, and after 1 year of me knowing him, he passed away at 47. And what was interesting was my wife, Christina, she brought home the bacon, so to speak. She worked at a major company in Cincinnati, and her husband actually stayed at home and took care of the children. So he was a stay-at-home dad. And when I married Christina, I just took over that position. Although the two sons that she has, they were gone. I just really fell into Gordon's role. So that's what retired me. God retired me. I didn't plan that. It happened because of him and me saying yes to him on the road to Lexington, and ended up marrying Christina, and she's like over the top tremendous. I have to admit, in the beginning, I didn't know right away. In fact, I didn't find out until we were going to get married, that she had a PhD, and it was in science, and that was the furthest thing in the world I could. I'm glad I didn't know it in the beginning, because if I did, I probably would have ran as far away from her as far as I could. I can spell science.
We're all punching above our weight class. That's all right.
So that was my retirement, and I took care of the house and had prepared dinner for her when she got home, and
So you had purpose in order to keep the home dynamic moving, as well as being obviously a relationship with Christina.
right.
Yeah.
And I had a part-time job. I delivered work for the service department at BMW store, and I did that for a while. And then eventually, after a year of that, I went to Cincinnati Bible College, which became Cincinnati Christian University. And I just wanted to find out why Christians believe what they believe. It was just for me. I wasn't looking for a degree or to become a pastor.
That's awesome.
Guys, this might be a good time to take a quick break. We'll be right back. Hey there, if you're enjoying this episode, we've got a small favor to ask. Actually, it's a huge favor. Take a moment to like and share this podcast with your friends and family. Then follow the Redirect Podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. It's quick, it's free, and it helps us keep bringing you great content every week. And if you really want to make a difference, drop us a 5-star review. Those reviews help us spread the word and keep this community growing. So hit that follow button, share with a friend, and let us know what you think. We appreciate you more than you know. Now let's get back at it.
So the transition of doing what you loved, which I think is remarkable in and of itself. You don't run into a lot of people who are as passionate about what they do that just love it. Like, hey, God, can I do this eternally? So I think that's really interesting. How was that transition for you? Was that challenging? Was it easy? Were you concerned about how to occupy your time?
Actually, it was really great stepping into that. All of a sudden, I didn't have to go out and earn a paycheck. So all the time that I had was my time, and I could decide what I wanted to do with it. So it was really tremendous, and I loved it. And I've loved the last 25 years of retirement because I'm able to do what God wants me to do and use my time the way that he wants me to use it. I would say this for my wife, Christina. She working for a major company in Cincinnati. She retired, and it was really hard for her. She had a career. She was known internationally. And so for 2 years after retirement, she actually worked more as a consultant and eventually phased out of that. But it was very difficult for her. She had an important job. You know, my job, the truck, the career, automobile industry, it was so easy to retire. I loved it, and I still do.
I was just going to say, women face the same thing as men do. Could you talk a little bit about those first days of her disorientation and what it was like on the home scene for you, being the one kind of running the home, but now you've got a partner who is going through this initial retirement phase? What do you remember?
To set the stage for that, how long ago did Christina retire? So how far were you in your retirement story when she decided to retire?
She probably worked, I have to kind of guess at this, but I think she probably worked after we were married for maybe, I'm going to say 3 to 5 years.
Okay.
It wasn't that long.
Okay.
Okay, so go ahead with Dale's question there.
So just a question about her going through this.
How did you help
process and your support of her?
Well, I've supported her in everything that she's done. I think the consulting was important to her. There was, it was really great income from it, and supported us. That, of course, income helped support retirement for both of us. Mm-hmm. And so I just supported her in that. It didn't really interrupt our lives at all, and in that sense. And when she's working, even when she was at work before retirement, I had the whole day. It wasn't like there wasn't anything really for me to mm-hmm. do other than what I wanted to do or maybe needed to do.
Did you get the sense that transition was tough for her?
Yeah, it was hard for her. We talked about it. I knew about her reputation, her identity, and it was difficult. But she loved the consulting. She did really important work, and I got to meet people that I otherwise would have never met, not only here in the United States but overseas. And our life's been a grand adventure through all of that.
But to leave that, to all of a sudden have to find her purpose, beyond work, what was that process like for her?
Well, both of us are Christ followers, so God and the church and just helping to move in God's kingdom is a major part of our lives. Even when she was working, this was a big deal. We've lived with that being significant in our lives since the day we've been married through her retirement. So we find our time now is really whatever we can do to help move God's kingdom along. People are important. In fact, on this earth, there's only one thing that is really important, and that's people. So we serve at the church, and we do other things outside of the church. And my wife's super generous. She's a very generous person, too. So
it's great that you have that kind of relationship with Christina. This is sort of sad. I've talked with other guys that are about to retire, and one of the biggest questions that they have is like, well, my wife is also retired, and I don't know how I'm going to be able to be at home 24/7 mm-hmm. with my wife. I love her, but it's nice to have that little separation. I'm sure you may have had a moment of that, like all of a sudden, okay, it's Tuesday. I'm supposed to be doing this, and I'm not. And then you found something that you jumped into, that you got involved pretty actively with the church. And I just think that's an important thing to mention, that you're an example of it and how to mm-hmm. help somebody, because it is a real thing that all of a sudden you're looking at one another and saying, now what do we do?
Yeah, I think one of the important things here is that God put Christina and I together. In a previous marriage, and like most marriages, it's boy meets girl. You put each other together, as it was with my first wife, whom I love and care about. God put us together, and knowing that God did put us together, we support each other in everything. And I get the idea of, well, now he's home or she's home, and now what does one spouse or the other do? But get this, for 2.5 years, we bought a 19-foot travel trailer, large enough for just the two of us. And when we go out in the travel trailer, we're out for months. We never go out for a weekend. It'll be 3 or 4 months. And we're in that trailer 24/7. And yeah, you would think, rightfully so, that, boy, you're going to get in each other's way.
Yeah, my wife would murder me if we spent that much time together.
Yeah.
I don't know. I got an idea of the smile on your face of driving the big truck again. This was just a continuation of that love of the road. What a great way to do it.
That's right.
Well, God's creation is great, and there's so much to see just in this country, whether you go south, north, east, or west. And we spent 3 months in the Pacific Northwest just a year ago and had a great, great time. And but we have a ministry on the road. It's not like we're just out seeing what God's created. We pray with strangers that God leads us to, and we have. We record those, we log those events, and there's great fruit that comes out of that and really great blessings that come out.
So, great transition. Speaking of driving, what drives you today?
Oh, God, Jesus drives me. I listen carefully. I try not to get back on that throne. Nothing's changed from that decision that I made 25 years ago. He's the whole thing. He's the whole ball game. He's my father. He fathers me, even though I'm 80 years old. He's still my father, and I ask him to do that. And he does that in spades, and he's everything. So, and that goes along with my wife, and we look at life like that. We're just passing through here, but we live with a very eternal perspective. Our work is to help further His kingdom here on earth.
And you're very intentional about that. I mean, it amazes me when he says, I'm going on vacation, we're driving to Seattle, and we stop places and we just start talking like you just alluded to. I imagine the stories in the book you could potentially write of people and where they are in their life and such. But you also do things here locally in Cincinnati. And
the Epistle of Roy.
Yeah.
Sincerely, I mean, that's really all Paul's letters were.
Yeah.
Were these admonishments or these encouragements and motivations to people, and how he encouraged. And that's what you did in the Pacific Northwest last year, right?
Yes, and I'd like to tell you maybe one or two stories. But one story in the beginning when we didn't know what to do on the road as far as ministry was concerned, but the idea came to me that we're both in the prayer ministry at Crossroads. And I've led a prayer team there. So we went out on the road. We're leaving Crossroads, and in that sense, for a period of time. And what's the ministry we're going to have? Well, let's pray with people. One of the couples that we prayed with, we met in a national park. And quite frankly, I wasn't particularly happy with the person that I met because it was a couple, and the wife was a complainer, and I'm not really great around complainers. I said to Christina, honey, let's go over and pray with this couple. And we went over and asked them if we could, and they were excited, delighted that we asked. And after we prayed, they were so happy about that. The husband asked me, Roy, are you a pastor? I said, no, I'm a car salesman. And we were near Florida, and it was wintertime, and they were concerned about their home in Tennessee. And so the prayer request was just about that. I gave him my card that says Living Life Abundantly. And like several hours after that, I got a text from the husband. He says, just thanked us again for praying and said, you didn't know this, but really my wife's suffering from depression. We were going to leave in a few days, but she wanted to leave today. But because you prayed, her depression is gone, and we're staying here for another length of time. So that's the kind of thing that would happen often from the road. We met a couple in Medora, North Dakota. There isn't anything much in North Dakota but cold, right. Ice.
Roads. One long road.
You enter in the east, and if you're driving west, and then you exit the west.
Yeah.
Well, in the west, there's a town called Medora, and they have a play. It's a musical, and it's tremendous. It's well known, actually. They bring in people from even out of the country to be part of this musical. Well, we sat in this kind of an arena, and a couple sat next to us, and the lady was telling us about what we were about to witness because they had volunteered there. And I thought, well, she's really great for the Chamber of Commerce. She's given me all this information. It's really great. And I just wondered why, she was being so helpful or friendly, and her husband. Well, they were camping in town, small community near us, and they came over to see us. We chatted and talked for a while, and we were visiting that national park there, and they decided to go northern North Dakota to another park, and they were going to do the same thing. And when we got there, we met up, and they shared with us that they had a son who was a runner, and he was preparing for a marathon, if you would, if not even longer. And in that preparation, he was in Colorado, and he was up in the mountains. And The day was a beautiful day, but as he trained, an awful storm came through. They told us to this day they have never found his body. And it was excruciating painful to listen to them. But they shared with us, and we ministered to them. We prayed for them. And they shared with us that before they went on this camping trip, the pastor had prayed that they would meet someone along the way that could minister to them. And we were that couple. And it was a great time. That was almost 2 years ago. I gave him my card. We parted ways. I was kind of disappointed that I hadn't heard from them. And wouldn't you know, just a week ago, I got a text from him just thanking us for meeting up with us. And he says, I've had your card in my wallet ever since. And he left his phone number. And that's just how God works. And that's what life's all about for me and Christina. We listen carefully. We're wanting to do what God wants us to do.
When you look forward, what excites you about the next experience? Is there something that you say, here's a new ministry that I'm really excited about?
Well, I like change. My wife is she's not great on change. I mean, just recently we moved from Cincinnati, where I lived my whole life, and up to Dayton, Ohio, and I really look forward to that. And the idea was to get her close to her grandchildren, son and daughter-in-law, and me turning 80. I knew we had to get close to them. Who knows how long, I'll live. And but to answer that question is, following Christ is a grand, grand adventure. And going at Crossroads Church, we wear, in fact, I think I have a T-shirt on right now that talks about that adventure. So it's just a great adventure, and I love every minute and every second. I never know what's going to come around the corner, and I'm excited about what might that look like. And Crossroads is having a new building in Dayton that Christine and I are going to be part of, and we're excited about that. And I really want to take our prayer ministry to the street. I want to be out on the street with it and pray with people.
So you say you're going to be a part of this church. You're not just sitting. I know you.
Yeah.
But one thing you brought up was that here you're 80 years old and you move, an hour or so away to be with family. But as you told me not too long ago, if people want to visit with me, we have to schedule something because I'm very, very busy. And even though people follow their kids in later life in order to be there for those years that are remaining, you're still getting out and getting it done. And I admire this because you're not stopping, and you're a tremendous inspiration to me. God is inspiring you to be aware of your surroundings and to take advantage of what he's presented to you, and you're doing something about it. And that's impressive.
Well, we're given this day, like today, I have my health and I'm able to do something worthwhile. And that's what I want my life. I'm just living life to the full. This thing about the abundant life, it's really scripture. Christ came and he says, I've come to give life and to give it abundantly. And as I stepped into him in lordship, that's what I've stepped into, a life of adventure and living life fully. And at 80 years old, I don't know how much time I have left. I'm not concerned about that at all. I know one thing, that I just want to stay in the race. I'm not going to sit down somewhere. And I'm going to stay in the race and die in the race. And I look forward to that. Like when I say looking forward to dying, living life eternally with that eternal perspective. Life's not over once you leave this physical body here on earth. You could say it's just really fully beginning. But I want to be of great value here on earth to God and to his kingdom, and moving his kingdom here on earth. It's just so exciting. It's exhilarating. It's a tremendous blessing.
What I love to hear, because I've seen couples that don't know what to do with each other. There's couples that do it together, that share that, and how exciting it is for you to know that you're both, got that same similar objective going forward, and you're doing it together.
Yeah, that's right.
How powerful is that?
Yeah, it's great.
I'm really glad you're here. I'm really glad for the folks that get to listen to this. They get to experience and hear all of that. For someone who is about to retire or just retired, what advice would you give them?
Well, my advice to everyone I meet, young or old or in between, about to retire is, God has to be He has to be the centerpiece of your life. You want to do what he wants you to do, whatever that is. You know, I said something about the truck, and I don't want people to go out there and say, well, I need to go buy a Freightliner on the road. You know, that's for me. That wouldn't be for anyone else. So I think, you know, God just needs to be the centerpiece of a person's life. Don't just sit on the front porch and the world go by. You won't last long. If you ask Roy Ellsberry who he is today, well, I'm a Christ follower. I'm in love with God. And well, that's who I am. My first 50 years of life was all about me. The Roy Ellsberry of, say, 1 to 50 is not the person sitting here. Now that I'm 80, I'm a new person, and makes all the difference in the world. Life is really great. I love life. I mean, if I could stay on this earth the way it is, I would. I love life. Life is great.
You're living abundantly.
Abundantly.
I love it, man.
Yeah.
It's been a joy. It's been inspirational. We can't thank you enough. We look forward to watching what God continues to do with you and inspire us and others to, you know, go after life the way you have.
If somebody wants to get a hold of you and say, hey, I need to talk to Roy, is there a way that they can connect with you somehow?
Yes, I would really love to do that. I'd love to sit down and talk to people and share with them and listen to them. And they can reach me at roy.ellsberry. That's ELLSBERRY. It's roy.ellsberry@gmail.com.
Prepare for the flood of from emails, Roy, because I think the inspiration is great, but we all want a piece of what you're experiencing. For us, just so great.
You know, the 2 great commandments are to love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength, and then to love your neighbors yourself. That's the way to live.
Thanks for joining us on the Redirect podcast.
Thanks for having me here.
We want to thank Gianna Dimona and the University of Cincinnati 1819 Innovation Hub for allowing us to use the eSports recording studio to record our podcasts. The Redirect podcast music is from Sound Gallery by Dimitri Taras. Want more information on how to redirect your purpose in retirement? Check out the Redirect website at redirect-u.com. Check out the latest Redirect podcast episode, as well as see all the Redirect episodes on Spotify and Apple Podcast. Do you have something you want to share? Do you have a question about your redirect strategy? Please email us at info@redirect-u.com. We want to hear from you. Remember, there is purpose in your life, so find it and go do something about it.